Paulo, Brazil, the 7th largest city in the world. 11 million call it home, and today as many as 300 million around the globe turn their attention here. Brazil has won the most World Cups, 5. Brazilians carry that pride constantly. Their hopes and dreams carried now by 23 men, who today begin the journey to write their own history, become the first Brazilian team to win the World Cup at home. From the rainforest to the shimmering shores of Rio, Brazil's time has arrived. It's match day 1 at the 2014 FIFA World Cup.
Welcome to 2014 FIFA World Cup Match Day.
Opening ceremony winding down in the stadium in Sao Paulo, 265 miles away at our home in Rio de Janeiro. Fans with about a half-mile long line to get in, filling in the FIFA Fan Fest along the shores of famed Copacabana Beach. What a setting. It's a half-day off, a national holiday in Brazil. The national team is playing in their country, hosting the World Cup. Hello, everyone. Mike Tirico, Alexi Lawless, former USA World Cupper, Roberto Martinez, manager of Everton in the Premier League, and Gilberto Silva, who proudly played for Brazil in 3 World Cups, all here to help you set the table for the top of the hour when the 20th World Cup gets underway. Gilberto, you helped put that 5th star on that famed yellow British jersey. What are you feeling as we are talking about the emotions, the excitement, and the anticipation of the Cup finally beginning in your homeland?
It's great, I feel anxious for them. And also feel anxious for myself as a Brazilian citizen and experience that in Brazil. Now working here with you guys, which has been amazing. But also, to feel the atmosphere for the people who love football, which is great. I can feel my blood pumping inside. I was inside. I was warming up.
You're ready to go.
I like to get up and warming up and start. I'm ready for the game, I'm ready for the game, and I want them to behave like that.
Well, if they need help, we can come get you.
Of course, I'm ready.
You were icing your knees before, I saw that.
I'm always ready. Be sure.
Brazil is playing in its homeland. Alexi, you had the unbelievable opportunity. We're just a week shy of exactly the 20th anniversary of you making your World Cup debut for the U.S. in the Silverdome, Pontiac, Michigan.
Yeah, way back in the 1900s.
Yeah.
Look, it's the same for any big event that you grow up watching and you grow up thinking about these moments and what they feel like to be part of it and to be part of history. And the thing that always stood out for me was there's no music, there's no soundtrack. And it's very strange because you grow up watching them on TV and there's this incredible music and fanfare, and when you actually walk out there, there's no music, and you have to very quickly figure it out. It's the same game that you've been playing all along.
I think it's the biggest event in the world. Obviously, for the ones that we love, the game it actually is. And as Gilberto says, you get excited. You're a little boy again. But I think the players, they don't take that attitude at all. The players will be just focusing. Some of those will be disappointed that they are not in the starting lineup. Others will be concentrating on the plan and the strategy that they've been working on. So you can imagine everyone having a massive dance, and then you got the focuses and those minds ready to play the start of this amazing World Cup.
And on the top of the marquee, of course, is Brazil, the host country, the one with the pedigree. But then there's Croatia. Alexi, let's not forget this team that once finished 3rd in the World Cup back in 1998, and they returned after missing 2010 in South Africa.
Absolutely, and it's a daunting task to go up against not just the host, but a host in Brazil. And Coach Niko Kovac has his hands full in trying to figure it out. And we're going to break it down in a little bit in more detail on how we think he's going to go about doing it. But you got to look at it and say, if Croatia were to come out with a point today, they would be sitting pretty.
Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about how. You guys will discuss that in a little bit. This is a day, as we mentioned before, of unbelievable contrast. The joy and the passion of this country hosting the World Cup and the reality of the problems around this country. Not all beautiful like it is behind us in Rio. There are favelas. There are small neighborhoods where there is certainly poverty. There are things that people wanted to see the money go towards: education, health, reform, as opposed to going towards the World Cup. And it's been really the genesis of a lot of violence we've seen, including earlier today in Sao Paulo. Some journalists were hurt. Otherwise, people have been able to get to the games, including our colleague Bob Woodruff.
So this is it. This is the view right from where we're standing. I'm joining right now with Rubens Pozzi, who's the editor-in-chief of ESPN Brazil. You know this place. I mean, we've got helicopters flying all over the place. We got police officers, cops, military, all of that. They're being very, very serious. They do not want anything to happen here.
Exactly. We never saw so many helicopters here, and all of them are here because the security. They are here to maintain peace, and anything goes wrong today because all of the Brazilians knows that this is a very important day.
There have been protesters out there. There was the one event that was actually at the bridge, the subway bridge out there, where people came to protest and block it off, and they are open fired on.
Yeah, it was like 11 kilometers from here, but the military police vanished the protest in 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
12 minutes. The governor and the president, Dilma Rousseff, they ask to people, don't do it, but if they do it, the police could be stronger with them.
So they're not going to take that, but all these people dressed in yellow everywhere, these people are so psyched for this game.
Yeah, because on the other hand, we can see people cheering, people enjoying this moment, people waiting for a great World Cup, for the Brazilian team, for all the visitors that are here. So everybody, the biggest part of the nation is cheering this moment.
All right, it's going to be a great game. And here come the helicopters. We're going to go right back to you there in Rio.
Okay, Bob, thank you. So despite the protests, the games will go on. It's going to be a part of the continuing story. One we'll explain to you throughout the month with our colleague Wright Thompson, who will help us share the observations of this nation, one of great beauty, great challenges, and great expectations.
The light changes personalities in Brazil. Close and hot on the beach, jagged on a rainy cowboy night, amber and viscous in the bars serving ice-cold bottles of beer. For the next month, the light will also be halogen, bright and glowing, in a dozen stadiums spread out over this enormous, complicated place. The World Cup has come to Brazil. For the next month, it will be a country within a country, a fully secure perimeter, protecting maligned FIFA officials and beloved athletes alike, carrying the tent poles of the traveling circus nation state of global sport. That's sort of perfect, because Brazil isn't really a cohesive place at all, but a series of individual ecosystems existing within a land area larger than the continental United States. Medieval poverty hides in the twisting alleys of the favelas. Wealthy hotels and apartments rise above the best beaches in the world. On the coast, the mountains and islands change from brilliant green to backlit shadow, according to the whim of the sun. In the dark heart of the nation, where the jungle eats the roads man tries to build, a mysterious river flows through triple canopy shade and verdant rotting moss. On the plains, ranchers ride across the pastures. Churches rise into mountain towns and promise heaven, while the hard concrete reality promises something else. That's why this World Cup, with its mix of anger over the spending on stadiums and the joy over the game to be played inside them, is itself a perfect reflection of the nation putting it on. Brazil is never one thing, but rather all of them, a cocktail of different landscapes and peoples and emotions, and only together are any of them fully true. The World Cup has come to Brazil.
And will you add one more line to that and find for the first time since France in '98, the home team celebrating at the end? They're certainly celebrating at the beginning. Players just about to come on the field to warm up. 50 minutes from kickoff in Sao Paulo. Matter of fact, we take a live look in the stadium. The keepers are out there. For the Brazilian side, getting ready to get set, Julio Cesar wearing the gloves for the home nation here today.
2014 FIFA World Cup Matchday. ESPN's coverage is brought to you by Bacardi. Live passionately, drink responsibly. Bacardi, untamable since 1862.
Continuing to count down to kickoff for the opening match in the 2014 FIFA World Cup. This is one of the stadiums that had the most difficulty and significant problems in its building. Lost a couple of lives in the construction of this stadium. Temporary seats apparently ready to go, and a carnival, an excitement. That's the festival that we usually have New Year's Eve down here when 1 million plus are on the beach in Copacabana. Everyone from around the globe is ready to start the World Cup, including the Pontiff, the Pope, tweeting today, wishing everyone a wonderful World Cup, played in the spirit of true fraternity. What he didn't say was he loves Argentina. He would like them to win. Only at the World Cup can we bring together Pope Francis and J-Lo and Pitbull. But they were part of the entertainment earlier in the stadium in Sao Paulo. As the opening ceremony, they performed the official song that you can download, by the way, as setting the tone musically for this World Cup. And we go from the Pope to J-Lo and Pitbull to Ian Darke and Steve McManaman. Where else can you do that? I want to bring those guys in. They'll be calling the match for us today in Sao Paulo. Gentlemen, you get to soccer stadiums around the world. Ian, multiple World Cups for you. How was the day just getting to the stadium and the mood around Sao Paulo as kickoff is approaching?
Well, of course, it's been bedlam here. You've heard about the demonstrations, which were broken up by tear gas and stun grenades from the police. 300 people dispersed in 12 minutes. That's the other side of the World Cup story. Inside here, though, eager anticipation, fantastic excitement, all of which, Macca, piles the pressure on Brazil to deliver.
Yeah, and they have to do it for the team, don't they? They have to do it for the nation. You almost feel as if they win today. Everybody on the streets, in the stadium, all around the country will suddenly have a collective sigh of relief and all start the games being happy and move forward through on. If they lose today, the pressure will mount, people will not be happy, and I don't know when we'll be getting home.
No host nation has ever lost its opening game at the World Cup, going all the way back to 1930. Bit of team news for you. Brazil, as we expected, the team that won the Confederations Cup, beating the world champion Spain a year ago. Of course, Croatia are without Mario Mandzukic, their main striker. They brought in Hull City's Nikica Jelavic today. What do we make of all that, Macca?
Yeah, I think it's a like-for-like change. Of course, Mandzukic is at Bayern Munich. He's probably got a little bit more class than Nikica Jelavic, but he's still a good proven goal scorer in the Barclays Premier League. Of course, when you talk about the Brazilian side, it's more of the Confederations Cup. Let's roll on. Let's use the crowd to our advantage, and hopefully they'll steamroll Croatia. That's what they're hoping.
Yeah, and Brazil, they looked a good combination of silk and steel, didn't they, last year?
Yes, they did, with Luis Gustavo in there and Paulinho. They look very strong. With the fact of Neymar and Fred up front, they've got the class to score the goals this afternoon.
No advantage, though, in the conditions for Brazil. They might have wished for a hotter day. It's rather like an early summer's day in New York here. Croatia won't mind that, Mike, but they might have a little bit of a problem with Brazil.
Darke, Macca, thank you very much. Back to you at the top of the hour, even before that, before kickoff. Let's talk about the Brazil formation, the 4-2-3-1. We know what they're going to play. For the most part, we have known who is going to play. Gilberto, I want to ask you, on this Brazilian side, we talked so much about Neymar. Another player that we can focus on for Brazil, in your opinion?
I think, for this team, we can focus a lot on Thiago Silva. He can be the main leader of them. He guides them, and also he has the security at the back for. Also, with the help of Julio César, with his experience. But also, they will rely on the team. To give a support from the back, up front, support Neymar, and from then on he can create and score goals.
Very much built around Neymar, and I want to go back for a moment to Alexi and Roberto to talk about not just the support and the star position for Neymar, but how Croatia perhaps can handle that to somehow find a way to get a point out of this match.
Thanks, Mike. Coaches all over the world have tried to figure out how to stop Neymar. Niko Kovac is no different here with Croatia. We have the Croatian starting 11 here. Interesting for me here, 22-year-old Neymar going up against 32-year-old Cerna on that right back. That's one to keep in mind. But I want you to break down how you think they are going to go about shutting down Neymar without losing some of their personality and some of their attacking abilities.
Well, that's the biggest question mark that you have. As a Croatian team, you don't want to lose the real quality of this team, which is obviously the three diamond, Modric, Kovacic and Rakitic. But this is an area of concern as Niko Kovac will look into this area, and this is where the goals are getting created by Brazil. Neymar, the outstanding footballer for Brazil. This looks that Perisic will have to do a real good work with Serna. That looks a real danger. I am surprised with this lineup. I don't see enough protection in this side to be able to cope with this Neymar situation. Maybe Perisic and Serna, they feel that they can stop it, but Neymar many times comes across and he moves around the pitch. I do feel that this is such an ultra-attacking lineup. You would expect to see that in the last 20 minutes of the game. Yes, good to keep the ball, yes, to impose yourself, but Olic, Jelavic, no protection of the back four. This is a really attacking team, which means that they're coming here to win the game, but for me, that's...
You think it's naive?
I wouldn't say naive, but that's a real gamble to start with, and that could be a real...
You think it backfires on them? You think Brazil comes out and rolls them?
Looking at the lineup, unless they can score early, and remember this team doesn't score goals from open play. 36% come from dead ball situations. You got so many attacking players on the pitch. That is a real concern for me. Great to see the Croatian side so confident, but I will be worried.
Well, we'll see if that risk pays off. Mike?
Okay, guys, more on the match coming up in a moment. A couple of other news items here in Brazil, in addition to the protest and the other things that we've been discussing. The European soccer leadership, especially in one man, and UEFA President Michel Platini, continue to put the pressure on Sepp Blatter, the FIFA president, not to run for a fifth term. Blatter has said, as the conferences and meetings were held with FIFA this week, that he would like to run for a fifth term, something that he indicated he would not do when elected to his fourth term. And today, European football leadership putting the pressure on Blatter to not run for a fifth term, all relating back to Blatter's comments last week about what happened with Qatar in 2022, as the London Times has put out multiple reports and documentation while an investigation goes on into any possible corruption in Qatar getting the 2022 World Cup. As for Team USA, which hits the field on Monday, they continue their preparations. Jeremy Schaap with the Americans today in Sao Paulo.
The U.S. was scheduled Thursday to play behind closed doors against the Belgians, one of the most dynamic teams in the world. But Belgium coach Mark Wilmots feared the worst from the notorious Sao Paulo traffic and backed out. So instead, the U.S. will go into its World Cup opening match against Ghana, coming off 3 friendlies in 3 weeks against Azerbaijan, Turkey, and lastly, Nigeria, against whom the Americans were impressive on both sides of the ball.
We feel good about the way our preparation has gone. We've played 3 good games, 3 different games, and we're excited about where we are. Physically, we feel good. Mentally, we're fresh and sharp and excited. And so I think we wouldn't change any of that. And now it's just about taking care of business on Monday.
The U.S. has avoided major injuries in the run-up to this World Cup, but defender Timmy Chandler did not train either Wednesday or Thursday after hurting his leg Tuesday. Chandler did train on his own Thursday, but did not participate in the intra-squad U.S. scrimmage, which was described to us as intense. In Sao Paulo, Jeremy Schaap, ESPN.
Jeremy, thank you. Meantime, the U.S. neighbors to the south, Mexico, as we get indication of their starting 11 for tomorrow against Cameroon. Miguel Herrera with confirmation that Javier Hernandez Chicharito will not be in the starting lineup. Perhaps a sub who could add some spark as Mexico gets set to take on Cameroon. The Brazilian team getting ready to exit the tunnel and head out for warm-ups as we move closer to kickoff inside of 40 minutes now. And listen to the fans inside. Well, Rio de Janeiro is where it will all end for this 2014 FIFA World Cup. Our helicopter shot a live look down on the beach, the FIFA Fan Fest, which over the last few World Cups has been exciting in the cities that are hosting some of the matches. The first match in Rio is Sunday. The Fan Fest is underway. We looked at our entire roster, trying to figure out who could we send to a party to tell us what's happening, and we settled on Soccer Hall of Famer Julie Foudy. Jules, what's going on down there?
Mike, I'm just hanging out with 20,000 of my closest friends. It's very up close and personal. If you can't be in Sao Paulo, 250 miles away, you might as well be here at that official Fan Fest. It's one of the 12 in each host city. And let me tell you, there's a lot going on. We got entertainment. We got a screen that's larger than the state of California. Music, food. There's a zip line here. And I've been walking around for the last few hours trying to find some Croatian fans, actually. I've spent a good hour and a half. I have found one, and in this entire place. But Gilberto will be happy to know his country is representing tonight. The Brazilians are ready for this opening match to kick off.
I'm sure he is very happy. He's got a big smile ear to ear. Julie, thank you. Enjoy. You know, it gets darker here earlier because we're in the southern hemisphere in July. So the sun sets around 5:15. It'll be a really neat scene down there in the gloaming, in the dusk, in the night with the screens, a few of them lining up. That's about 2.5 miles down that way along this beach. It's a pretty exciting time all the way around.
You can stick it out, though. You're not going to take off on us, right?
I can't leave and go watch the match. I'm stuck here with you?
Yeah, fortunately.
That's not too bad. For this country, Roberto, as you've arrived here, I thought you made a good observation. As you start to look around, because soccer's in the blood of so many people, you can sense their pride in getting ready to host the world, really for the first time in over 6.5 decades.
Well, it is a real shame that always the headlines are the ones that they are protesting and they want to put their point of view across. But the immense majority, they feel such an incredible pride of hosting the World Cup and being involved with the game. Remember, this is the footballing adoptive home, and you can feel it as you're walking in the street. Everyone's got an opinion. Everyone knows how Neymar is going to play, and it's just been a joy of sharing time with the hosts.
And while it's an opportunity for these players on the field, it's also an opportunity for this country to provide that message at the end of the tournament. And we don't know what it's going to be. But certainly when you talk about a World Cup's always special. But a World Cup in Brazil and what Brazil has meant to this sport, it's a whole nother level.
And the unique pressure on the team as well, Gilberto.
Yeah, but I think the players will do well with those pressure. Because we are under pressure since when we grown up in Brazil. Because then we have to go on the street to play football. We have a proper field to practice. We play as very natural for us. And then we go into football to have a better life. But all this pressure around, they don't care about that. Of course, they understand everything.
Sure.
But it's for me, quite annoying to have all these in this moment for the competition. And in the October, they have a time, for them to solve all this problem with the election.
Right.
But now everyone, I think, will enjoy.
If the team wins, a lot of folks will be happy. And some folks think the World Cup will be an easier road with less stress. Our match day show continues, but our pre-match rolls on as we approach 32.5 minutes to kickoff of the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Much more from Rio on the way to Brazil, Croatia.